really great to see the amount of fly fishing coverage given to pike, carp, all sorts of species these days. But I tell you, one fish that's still not really getting the attention it deserves is the perch. So you'll find perch almost everywhere you find your regular coarse fish. You know, you can find them on big reservoirs, rivers. Actually, some of my favourite fishing is here on the Somerset level. So we're going to jump between a few venues today. Really interesting fishing. It's quite intimate. The water clarity looks good today. And it's also really dirt cheap. You know, you're often looking at only sort of £6 or £7 for a day's fishing, which is brilliant. So in terms of the tackle you use, not quite as strong as pike tackle generally. You want a good fight out of these fish. Still wouldn't go generally lower than about a 5 weight. So I've got my 5 weight here. Really good fun sporty outfit. I'll also go up to an 8 if the fishing's a bit more demanding and there's also a chance of pike, then that's when I'll be stepping up to a slightly tougher outfit, and this is a Cortland saltwater blank here. Nice balanced outfit, but with enough power to also handle the odd rogue pike if we come across one. Other essentials to have, because we might encounter pike as well as perch, and we'll certainly be dealing with steep banks here, I've got a really long extendable landing net handle, quite a generous sized net that will also handle pike as well as big perch, soft unhooking mat, and also not essential but very, very useful, especially if you're going through brambles and nettles, and that is a line tray. Really good investment for anyone who fishes bits of ground that are uneven. So dealing with lines and leaders, mostly floating lines. For shallow venues like these, certainly I'd only really go to sinking lines if I'm fishing a bigger water like a reservoir or a deep river. So the one I really like is the Trout Boss. The line is actually a little bit heavier than the number rating, but on a 5 weight outfit that also lets me punch bigger flies out if necessary. As for leaders, that really depends on the venue and the presence of pike or otherwise. So if it's perch dominated or only very small pike, you may well get away with fluorocarbon, but if there is a bigger risk of pike, you could always use a bit of bite guard, a bit of light wire just as insurance. But you've got to play that by ear and decide, really depending on the venue you're fishing. Small pike, you'll often get away with fluorocarbon, but if there are the odd bigger pike anymore, I'd quite often use a bit of that as insurance as well. So first of all, your regular streamer type patterns will work well for perch. We've got things like a woolly bugger, humongous is always a good one. I've also devised 1 or 2 special patterns for turrel for the species. Tend to be a little bit bigger than trout flies, but a good deal smaller and more bite-sized than pike flies. I also use a lot of weighted flies tied jig style. They're useful to get down to the fish. They're also useful for avoiding snagging if where you're fishing is a little bit hairy. And last but not least, we have the category of just other flies that catch perch, which is frankly endless. So you get things like squirmy worms. I've got friends on the canals who catch loads of fish on them. And I'd also include like slightly larger bait fish flies, which are almost a bit like scaled down pike flies. Very good when the perch are on fry or slightly bigger fodder. I'm just searching a nice looking bend here. Let's see if there's anything about. One of the things you'll notice right away when I'm fishing for perch is that I don't race the fly in. One of the big differences actually between perch and predators like pike, that you tend to have to get the fly a bit closer to, unless you're lucky and they're really charging down prey fish, tend to have to get the fly a little bit closer to the fish and work it. The trick tends to be work it vigorously, erratically, but not overly fast. They won't often come several metres after a fly like sometimes a pike will. You've got to kind of tease them a little bit more. Well, that was lovely, really late in the cast. Just saw him come up and grab that little white fly, showing up really nicely in this dark, clear water. We've got a beautiful looking spot in front of us, but we've not really had any knocks in a while, and I suspect it's getting a bit deeper here, the river, so what I'm going to do is just switch over to a slightly heavier fly. Got a nice tungsten beaded fly here. Quite a big bead on it, it's probably about a 5mm there, but that's going to sink really, really well and hopefully get down to the fish where the fish are, because like I said, you can't always rely on perch coming up for stuff in the same way that pike sometimes do. Well, we've just changed spot, same river, different spot, and this looks absolutely classic. It always gives you confidence when you find a spot with bait fish, and this place is really, really, really thick with bleak. They're just everywhere you can see. There's just got to be predators here. So yeah, we will find out shortly anyway. Oh, well, that was a little bit hairy, I have to admit. I've stepped up to a slightly heavier rod here. Just shows you'll normally get these fish in on heavier fluorocarbon, and I've got 12 pounds here, but the trick is to play them really gently and not go overboard, because if you pull really hard, that's when the line goes snip. But I've been careful with that one. Not the fish we were after, but very enjoyable on light tackle. I think I'm going to be putting a wire trace on next cast. It might be a bit of a pike day. Seem to be more up for it than the perch, really. They don't read the script, these fish. Well, once again, a funny looking perch. They don't read the script here. I'm glad I'd stepped up to the heavier tackle for this one. That was a real battle, but it just shows you do sometimes get pike by accident. Sometimes the flies we use are probably a bit big for them. Anyway, we'll get them back right away. So that's not really gone to plan so far in this spot, but it does show you'll often pick up other species. You sometimes get chub as well doing this. Interesting thing is, if you go with really big pike flies, you don't very often get perch. You'll get the occasional big one, but it's a rarity, whereas it's quite common the other way round. So, you know, depending on the spot, you have to adapt, and you're getting regularly pestered by pike, as I am today. Yeah, I'm glad I beefed up the tackle a bit, and, you know, by all means pop on a wire trace if it's happening regularly. So we're just having another quick pit stop at another location, and that's really the joy of this kind of fishing. Quite often fish, you know, a dozen different spots in a day, and the fish can be really stacked into locations like this, against sluice gates, under bridges. So we're hopefully here for a good time, but probably not a very long time, but we'll search loads of spots like this in a day. And yeah, I'm not going to spend very long. I should know fairly quickly if there's a fish there. Hopefully it's got stripes this time, but we'll see. Well, that was quite interesting on the light tackle, but it just shows you get most of these fish in if you take your time and fish sensibly. Again, a very funny looking perch, but it just, yeah, unfortunately they've not read the script. Definitely feels like a pike day rather than a perch day, but we will keep trying. Silly, isn't it? I bet you if we were fishing for pike, we'd have caught a perch. Well, there's a turn up for the books. Not my intended target, but this quite often happens when you use small streamers. You get fish, bonus fish like this lovely chub of about £1 that's just hit the streamer pretty much on the drop, one pull and it was on. It's always worth getting stuck into slightly awkward spots, but it does make the long handled net really even more useful. It means I can release this fish without putting myself at risk and without having to throw the fish in, which I don't want to do there. Away he goes anyway. Oh, well, that was a bonus. Anyway, it's all about getting some sport, so I can't resist trying this tiny little river behind us here. It's probably no wider than this rod, most of it, but you know, even a venue like that, there'll be perch there. I don't know what I really expected. We've got a tiny drain behind us, but look at that little chap. Smallest perch of the day, but look at that, absolutely beautiful. I tell you what, a bit like a little wild trout. They're just, I'm always happy catching perch of any size. They are just so beautiful. Well, that is perch fishing for you. We've gone for, you know, quite a long time without seeing a perch, and then we suddenly had 2 in 2 casts. They're not very big, but it's just great fun looking at them in this little clear water and seeing them come out from underneath the vegetation. They're great fun. They're so aggressive. That is absolutely beautiful. It moved like greased lightning. Yeah, again, a funny looking perch. What a beautiful little pike. Can't believe that. Well, time is just about running out on us now, but we've had a brilliant day here roaming on the levels. We've tried loads of spots, as you can see. The pike did crash the party a little bit, considering this said perch fishing on the tin, but we've had loads of fun anyway. And yeah, there's so much potential out there if you're willing to scale that back a bit and really explore. But yeah, hope you've enjoyed viewing. Hit subscribe if you like these videos and check out our other films. And do also check out Turrell Fly's Facebook page and website for more patterns you can try and other ideas and blogs and all sorts there. But yeah, all the very best and see you next time.